raise your standards. You know, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. So it's like making a decision now. Interesting, if you raise your internal standard, raise, you know, what you expect to happen, everything else externally will change as a byproduct of that.
So when people are in an environment where they're doing better, they're achieving more, they're feeling better, they're going to stick around. They're going to go into that next level. You need to get back in there. You need to practice more. You need to elevate your standard. You need to start outperforming your top 2 performers just to show them who's darn boss. Like, as the boss, you've got to be willing to actually put your money where your mouth is. Guys, welcome to today's podcast. Once again, I've got the fabulous Dave Matho, captain of cleverness, the emperor of elegance, the builder of beliefs. What else can we call you?
Oh, the king of handsomeness.
King of handsomeness.
Yeah. But it's all the titles. But we shared titles because we're in this together.
That's right. But so when we go to an event and there's like name tags, there's also letters underneath.
Yeah, we have to have.
It's just a lot of letters. There's a lot. Like the name tag is basically the whole shirt.
Yeah.
Talking about how good we are, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Dave, welcome so much to today's episode for having me back. Super excited. And so today we're talking about the one thing that you must change if you actually want to elevate your business and your life. And it's not what you guys think. Today we're going to go more into like a way of being, a different approach. Because I think that we keep everyone in suspense before we reveal what it is. Well, the answer is this: be more handsome and everything in your life will change. That's actually true. There's evidence based on that, based on a sample size of 1, yours truly. Just kidding. Sample size of 2. So it's 100% strike rate. People get caught up in tactics and strategies. It's like, hey, if I get better at marketing, everything will change. If I get better at sales, everything will change. If I had better people, then my business would be better. But the reality is there is one underpinning thing across the whole board inside your business and your life. If you change this one thing, everything shifts. All right. So Dave, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is it?
I love it. Okay, here we go.
Big reveal.
Raise your standards. Standards is the one thing, and it's interesting you said that.
And that's the end of the podcast, but actually,
yeah, we're going. Raise your standards.
Ciao.
Bye. Arrivederci. What is that? Right. You know, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And we'll get into that in a minute. But the point is, we're too busy looking externally about this magic bullet or this silver bullet, this magic, whatever they may be. It's like, if only.
Yes.
Only I had a better team, everything would be different. If only we make more money, this would be different. If only we had this marketing that will work, everything would be different. But at the end of the day, it's not about what's external to us. In fact, it's about right down. Change doesn't take time. It takes a decision. It takes a decision. That's right, another t-shirt. So it's like making a decision now. Interesting. If you raise your internal standard, raise, you know, what you expect to happen, everything else externally will change as a byproduct of that.
So we're going to talk about a couple of things to do with standards today. I mentioned this a little bit briefly earlier on, was doing a different podcast with Sarah talking about thermostat and thermometer. And it's like, as the owner of the business, it is your job to be the thermostat, meaning you set the temperature. Like, think about the thermostat in your house. It's like you click it, you're like, hey, I want 22 degrees Celsius. It's like, I want to be nice and cool. Or I want it to be this hot. Like, you set it, then the room raises to that level. But in business, way too often, we become the thermometer, meaning that our temperature is a byproduct of what's happening around us, rather than us actually setting that standard. So I want to talk about that for a moment. Like, it's so easy, isn't it? Like, especially if your team is growing and you haven't really got your culture super dialed in, there's results all over the place, and you end up accepting things, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, if you accept those things, like, you lose control of your business.
Absolutely. And another analogy I like to use, it's popped up for me, is push the string, pull the string. We've spoken about this in the past, and which is echoing your point there. It's like if we're pushing buttons or putting up fires or playing whack-a-mole, we're essentially just pushing the string of what we want. We're pushing people.
What we're pulling it.
Yeah, because if you think about analogy, if you think right now, there's a string on the table. If you try and push the string across the table, it's going to crumple, it's going to curve.
Such a good visual analogy.
If you grab the end of the string, and you pull it in the direction that you actually want. So in other words, you lead with intention of where you want to go in the direction you want to go. In other words, the standard that you set. By pulling the string then falls into a straight line. Everything falls into place, and you can pull it in any direction you want, but it pulls in sync versus crumpling up and rolling and whatever it may be, and it's harder work. In other words, pull the string, not push the string, based on what it is you want.
So we're thinking about, and I love that analogy, we want you to be raising your standard and pulling that string. If you want your team to actually raise their standards, and this is I'm not teaching you guys anything you haven't heard before, but I'm really gonna hit it hard. You've got to raise your own standards. Like, if you aren't leading from the front, and I'm not saying you need to do the same task as your team, but if you don't have a standard that's up here, your team won't do that. Like, they won't. And the other interesting thing is, if you don't have a really high standard, perhaps ask yourself, have you hired some epic team members before? It would take class. And we hired this epic team member about 6 months ago. I had a chat with him. I said, hey, dude, you need to work on your standards because you've just hired a 10 and your leadership right now is like a 6. A 10 isn't going to stick around for a 6 or an 8. Like, they're at a 10, you need to be at a 12 out of 10, buddy. And he lifted his standards. If the owner doesn't have the highest of standards, the best talent is going to leave. Yeah. It is that simple. But the other thing is this as well. Like, if your standards aren't super high, your best team members are going to not stick around, and you're going to have a constant turnover of people because they're all looking for standards. Yeah. They all want to elevate. Like, when people are in an environment where they're doing better, they're achieving more, they're feeling better, they're going to stick around. They're going to go into that next level. So I challenge you guys watching and listening right now to ask yourself, how are you showing up? Like, what is it you expect your team to do? You can't ask your team to do something if you're not willing to bleed for the cause yourself. So it's like, if you expect your team to do this, you need to be living that. Like, you need to be demonstrating that. You can't be a doctor who's a smoker and asking your patients to quit smoking. Yeah. Like, it's so incongruent. So we need to set the standard, but then we need to be extremely congruent and consistent to that.
I love that point. If I can speak to those points. I'd love to echo and enhance. No, I love what you said there, because it was really what was popping up. There was congruency, which is, and it's making an assessment right now. If you raise your standards, it's then assessing, well, is my language, my narrative, my behaviors, my actions in congruency with what it is I'm saying? Like, it's not the old parental unresourceful. Do as I say, not as I do. So I think the first point I wanted to echo for what you said was a congruency check. What is my language? What is my narrative? What is my vocabulary? What is my actions? What is my calendar? What is all the things am I displaying and demonstrating? Yes, because I think some part of it is it's like knowledge, skill, attitude, if we want better habits. Thus, knowledge, skill, habits. And it's like knowledge. Well, what does my team need to know? Like, what do I need to transfer? What do they need to know? What do they need to do? Like, practice? Like, what do I need to show them? But the attitude needs to be demonstrated. Yes, it's a narrative. So that's the first part, was congruency. And the other thing I think is an expectation right now is, if you want to install a higher standard, expect your team to do 2/3 of what you do. Oh yeah, it's like the dilution effect. Well, so it's interesting. If you went from, say, you at the top to, say, a practice manager to, say, a team. Yeah. Well, think about every time it goes for a filter. It's like cordial. Yeah, a little water in it, it dilutes. So therefore, have you ever noticed, maybe this year experiencing something like now, not like Chinese whispers, it's not like that, the same effect, where by the time the actual message, or the time the act actually gets to the team, how many dilution filters has it gone through? And we want to remove the dilution. We want it to get from the source. We want it to get from the core. In other words, so that when information or the attitude is transferred, it's transferred of it in its purest form, or as close to it. Yeah. So even think, well, if I want them to be at this level, well, maybe I need to raise it even beyond.
Yeah, you could earn the right, to actually demand or expect that standard.
So that if they, sort of aim for the stars, because they hit the clouds in the sky, we're almost there,
It just reminds me of, like, there's another practice I know I want to talk about that was in our program, still in our program, but I was actually thinking about removing them, actually. And the thing is this, like, I was talking about, they were still seeing patients, and it was talking about retention rates. And what the expectation was of the team. And I said that you need to set the standard. Like, what is the standard going to be for retention rate? And for you guys listening to the podcast, as you know, if you don't have a retention standard, then all of a sudden you have roller coaster books, and you can go backwards and you can't outmarket poor retention. So this particular owner said, well, my goal is this, but I've got a lot of team members actually doing better than me. So maybe I'll bring it back down to my level. And I said, hang on. You've got team members that are outperforming you with retention. So yeah, that's right. But I like to do it this way. I'm like, hang on. You are going to lose those two team members, right? Because they are like performing at a higher level than you are. Like you have not earned the right to be their leader. And now you're talking about actually decreasing the standard because they're too high performers and everyone else is lagging. It's like you want to drag down the performance so that you feel more comfortable and your laggards feel more comfortable. You will not add a business in 12 months. And it literally was a reality slap for this particular client. I'm like, no, you need to get back in there. You need to practice more. You need to elevate your standard. You need to start outperforming your top two performers just to show them who's darn boss. Like, as the boss, you've got to be willing to actually put your money where your mouth is, or your team aren't going to follow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I sort of segue to that point. I love that.
I think it's so important. Sometimes it's beyond sometimes the belief, but again, it's what is comfortable. You know, again, we spoke in a previous podcast about beliefs in that particular client and where their beliefs and where theirs are versus hiring some A-grade talent who've adopted a higher standard because of it can be assumption that they know to be true is what we spoke about last time.
Exactly.
But I love that point about even just 2/3. Eventually, those team members are going to turn around and look and go, well, we want to strive for more. We want to raise the bar. It's like one of the analogies. I don't know about you, got in the Olympics. One of my favorite events. That was the word I was looking for. Is high jump.
Oh yes,
high jump. And I love the high jump simply because I love the principle of the high jump. It's like, hey, let's keep it, the bar. Yeah, let's get people around the world. Well, first of all, let's get the best people around the world. But you cannot compete unless you're already at a particular standard.
Nice.
You know? And then round one, we're already at standards. But then you've got the best in the world, and everybody jumps the first one, and everybody qualifies from round one. But like you said, the bar gets raised.
Yes.
And then we go again, then the bar gets raised. Now, if you miss it, it's okay. It's feedback. There's no failure, only feedback, which means you get first attempt, but so you get another go. But you get a try. Okay, I didn't quite get the bar that time. So what am I going to do differently this time? My run up, my technique, my fall for whatever it may be. And sometimes people don't get the bar on the first one. They get it the second attempt. But I love it because at the end of the day, the gold medalist for a high jump is the person who raised the bar.
Exactly. And that brings me on another point with standards. It's so important to keep raising those standards. It blows my mind that someone that can set a goal, like here's my annual goal, and that's it, I've hit my goal now. Without setting a new goal, there is no future. And if you're not challenging yourself, you're not growing. If you're not growing, your team can't lift in standard. If they can't lift in standard, they've run out of future, they will leave you. But before they leave you, they will drop their standard and they'll drag your culture back down. And we do see this when people say, I had a really great year in like 2022, but I was down, I was back. I'm like, well, you haven't been changing the standard. You haven't been demanding more. You demanded for a bit, you went after it for a bit, then you got complacent. So like good is the enemy of great. And you've got to be constantly resetting that goal. Look, here we are in Noosa right now, beautiful sunshine coast of Australia. We've got 30 of our boardroom members flying in tomorrow. And one of the big things we are talking about is resetting that standard. You know, we've got people in that group ranging from, on the lower side, maybe 800-900 grand a year, on the higher side up to like $7 million per year in healthcare. And it's like how people hit their goals and they're mind blown. Like, oh my goodness, like they're a Noosa, their practices are functioning and they're profitable without them. And then it's like, guys, you're not going to get complacent. It's like, we're going to reset that darn standard. We're going to that next level. You know, when you set the new standard, you are forced to change. You're forced to change beliefs, like we were talking about in an earlier podcast. And when you do that, your team, you know, they level up around you. And one of the best things around when you raise your standard, your team raise their standard. And if they don't, get rid of them. Like seriously, get rid of them. I think it's Jack Welch, who was the famous CEO of General Electric. Every year it was like top grading. 10% of the team get moved on no matter what. And it was a thing. Like it wasn't hiding it. And it wasn't a brutal thing. It was known every year the bottom 10% just get moved on. And it just forces everyone to keep elevating. So you need to raise your standards. You need to demand high standards. You need to be ruthlessly clear on what that actually means. You need to talk about it constantly, and you need to demonstrate it. Because it's back to congruent state. If the owner isn't doing it, what's going to happen? Like, it's all lip service, right?
Well, it's like we're always evolving. Like, even right now, if you're listening to this, like, well, what does the next 6 months, what's the next bottlenecks? What does, even for the time of this recording, we're in 2025, what does 2026 look like and feel like in terms of, if you were to level up, what does that look like? But it's the thing right now is, what are you getting away with right now that's giving you the results and what you expect to have happen? It's a bit like, what keeps popping in my head is like a sentence or a paragraph. Like I's being dotted, T's being crossed, no capital letters, no full stops. Now, let's say, for example, we're just writing, you can still read the sentence, you can still read the paragraph, but it's a bit incomplete. But maybe if you just wanted the words down and that was your reality or that was your outcome, that's okay. But if you want it to look better and be presented better, well, then we have to commit to completion on capital letters, full stops, dotted I's, quick T's crossed. I know it's a very basic analogy, but what we're saying is, but about separate. If you want a different outcome, if you want it to look different, feel different, see different, then it's what you have to let go. And I think it's the art letting go. Oh, you have to let go of how things were done, and you have to embrace a new way of doing. And that's just about pressing the reset or the drawing a line and saying, actually, moving forward, this is what we're adopting. We're letting go of the past to embrace the new. But it's, if I want something I've always had, then I'm going to keep doing what I've always done. But if I want something I've never had, or maybe if I want, be prepared to experience something you've never had, then perhaps you might have to embrace something you've never done, which is new standard, new behavior, new habits, the language, or whatever, everything you're speaking about.
That is so eloquently said. I'll introduce you to the next podcast. It'll be Dave, the Emperor of Eloquence.
Oh, I love that alliteration. Is that what it is?
Illustrious illiterator. We're going to add all these new things in. Well, you're talking about standards, right? I just want to share this because I know this is really going to hit. It's going to be a real reality slap to all of you guys listening. I remember back in the day, because I'm 152 years old, by the way, when people weren't doing social media, right? But now they are, and it's like we were the first on there, and we're still the best. It's not a brag if it's the truth. So the thing is, people now go, "Oh, Tristan, yeah, I'm doing social media. I don't need to do it. I'm doing social media." Like, yeah, of course you're doing it. But so is everyone else. Your standards need to be better.
Yes.
So I know Mr. Beast talks about this, and he's like biggest guy on YouTube in the world, an absolute weapon. And he's like, he's not so focused now producing lots of new content. He's focused on making each of his videos 10 to 20% better. So he makes each video 10 to 20% better. They get 50% more consumption. So he's like, sometimes the standard is like, I need to raise my standards by doing an extra thing. It's like, you need to do that, but do it better.
Yeah, quantity over quality, sure.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like, do more rather than just do what you do.
And it's also another reason why I believe that agencies are now totally irrelevant in healthcare. And so if you're an agency and you're listening, I still love you guys, and please keep following. But I just believe there is a better way.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not being inappropriate. I'm just like, this is just my belief.
Yeah.
It's the truth. This is why agencies are irrelevant for healthcare. It's because in the past, they used to serve a task that a practice owner didn't want to do. Like, oh, I don't want to do Google AdWords. I don't want to do Facebook ads. Oh, I don't want to do Instagram. And now with AI, you just pay someone that's pumped out content for you. Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, once and done. I'm sorry, but that standard isn't going to cut it. Yeah. If you're on social media now, your standard needs to be engaging. It needs to be personal. It needs to be relatable. So your standard is now not just, are you doing everything everyone else is doing, but are you doing it the absolute top echelon? And that means taking an enormous amount of responsibility and raising your standards so much in your business that you can elevate above it and be involved in growing the business.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be treating a full patient load and really getting to that elite level.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not doing any social media right now, hey, just get started.
Yeah.
And you'll get better and better over time, but you've got to commit to it.
Absolutely.
Like, we're now in the space in healthcare, private practice globally, where, I mean, it's an absolute given you should be amazing at clinical standards, and I believe your clinical standards need to keep growing all the time. Like, you can't, if you're clinically only as good as you were last year, it's not good enough. You need to get better clinically. But that isn't the issue. And the issue is that most people are not getting better at leadership. You're not getting better at marketing. You're not getting better at sales. And you're going to keep elevating that so we can go to that next level. So what's the saying? Like the standard you walk past is you don't get the standard you demand, you get the standard that you accept.
Yeah.
No, like that, and if you walk past it, that's what you're going to get.
Right? And universally, be challenging. You raise a new standard today. Let's say it's in fitness or whatever. Maybe it's like I'm raising a new standard in terms of how I look or what I eat or what I do. Life's going to challenge you. It's just a universe. Life will challenge
push back on you.
Yeah. So, for example, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. The moment you raise your standards, your team will drop, and it's about, do you let it go? Do you pick up on it? And, for yourself, you'll be challenged. Maybe you might not feel like it, or you might not want to, or whatever. In any shape or form, life will challenge you. In that moment, it's about remembering something. This is the moment where I hold firm. This is the moment where I double down. This is the moment that I hold true. Because if you can pass that test, well, then that new standard will start to be embraced.
Yeah, well, you need to raise the standard so much that it's a pressure cooker, so that your team are pushing back, so that the market is pushing back. And when you're doing that, you are raising the standards. And like you said, like your team will only ever be 2/3 of your standard. If we keep lifting and they're 2/3 of you, we're going to start, everyone lifts on a rising tide. So as we were saying beginning today, everyone wants to become a better this or a better that or a better that. The underpinning essence of all of it is raise your standards.
Yeah.
Demand more of yourself. Think of what is it you're currently not doing that you could do, and just add in one thing this week, and just watch what happens around your team when they start noticing you do that. Make sure you're speaking with more certainty in meetings. Really show up. Make sure you put in the extra effort in that video or those 2 videos you're going to do this week. Make sure that you call someone out when they don't follow through with the patient. Like, call it out. Make it an absolute non-negotiable. Your standards are up. So standards, they're not optional. And I think that's where most people get it wrong. It's like, oh, this is our standard. Like, well, really? No, that's your wish. Like, your standard is what you demand, what you actually get after. So, like, prove to me you're actually getting it.
I love to wrap up before just a final soundbite, because I loved everything on the conversation today. All the way through, it's about moving it from looking externally, yes, to then bringing it internally. I like that. And at the beginning of today's podcast, we spoke about looking for other things outside, but in fact, raising your standard is an internal decision. It's E. But what I love about it is internal equals inspiration versus motivation.
Nice.
A lot of it is motivation is, if something else happens, as in my marketing starts working, I'm motivated to do more. It's like, when this happens, I'll do this.
Yes.
It's like we're talking about a being today. And I love the inspiration. Be inspired. If you're being inspired today by this conversation, then be inspired to internally raise your standards. Because internally, you will inspire your team. You'll inspire other people.
I love that.
Which means that they internally will lift, as opposed to relying on any external factor. It's like the stick in the carrot. We don't need to go and externally hit them, when internally they're inspired by what they see you do, what they hear you say, and just by watching you in action. Also, it's good. Anything, my final soundbite is, be inspired to internally raise your standards so that you can inspire everyone around you to lift too.
Dave, it's been an absolute masterclass. Appreciate you.
Always a pleasure. Never a chore to be here.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please do us a favor. Make sure that you like and share this podcast episode. Make sure that you click that little button. Follow us on Instagram, Tristan and Dave Official. You see a lot more of this fantastic content. Any questions? We actually do get to your questions personally. So you pop them inside the chat and we will get back to you. And of course, make sure that you tune in next week for next week's episode. So bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Arrivederci.